thank you and the ranking member for convening today's hearing. If I could, Mr. Tennant, I'd like to echo what many of my colleagues have said today. We do appreciate the fact that you've created this platform. To a large extent, you've leveled the playing field so that small individual investors can have a shot at the American dream. That's investing. Now, I do want to ask you, though, and a lot's been said about the situation that occurred in late January. My question to you is, how did you misjudge your capital requirements to prevent people from being able to trade during that period in January?
Thank you, Congressman. I wouldn't say we misjudged our capital requirements. This was a 1 in 3.5 million occurrence event, one that had never been seen before in capital markets. And we had to play this by the book. Robinhood Securities made the decision that we did so that we could remain in compliance with our regulatory capital and deposit requirements. Unfortunately, it required us to restrict the buying of these securities for Thursday and limit it to some degree on subsequent days until additional capital came in that allowed us to relax the restrictions.
It was Robinhood's mistake, though, correct?
Well, Robinhood owns what happened, certainly, and we need to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But Robinhood Securities had limited options with how to address this, and I fully support the team in making the decision that they did, and I believe they did the right thing and the only thing.
I realize you said at the beginning that you're privately held. With that said, is your primary source of revenue from the order flow payments that you receive from some of the players that we've talked about today?
That is correct, Congressman. Payment for order flow is one of our largest revenue sources.
Is it the largest?
It's the largest, yes.
Now, in your testimony, in your written testimony, oral testimony, you talked about the settlement period and what we're probably capable of doing in real time, or instead of T+2, maybe even T+1. If we had real-time settlement, would the situation that did occur in January, would that have been preventable? In other words, that wouldn't have happened if we had real-time settlement?
Congressman, if we were to have real-time settlement, and of course there's some implementation details that would govern this, there would be less of a need for collateral at clearinghouses because the cash and securities transactions would be exchanged in real time. So collateral for counterparty risk would be less necessary. So real-time settlement would lead to reduction, perhaps an elimination in some of these collateral requirements, a reduction in the money that's sort of clogging up the plumbing of the system. And that would have avoided some of these problems altogether.
Thank you very much. And just to be clear, does the same answer apply if I asked you if settlement was T+1 instead of same-day settlement? Would your answer be the same?
Congressman, T+1 certainly would be better, but it doesn't. It reduces the scope of the problem. It doesn't eliminate it from a technology standpoint.
Thank you very much. Mr. Huffman, if I could, I'd like to follow up on some of the questioning that my colleagues, Congressman Hill and Congressman Gottenheimer, asked. You've done an investigation into Reddit, into Wall Street bets. You don't see any bad actors. I'm paraphrasing, but you don't see any bad actors that caused any role in the GameStop frenzy. Am I characterizing that correctly?
Congressman, that's right.
The Congress is looking at amending Section 230. What are your thoughts about that as it relates to Reddit?
Sure. So Section 230, I think, is a critically important law to the internet as we know it. And it was created, in fact, to protect a forum in the early internet for talking about stocks. Section 230, I think it's also important to point out, doesn't protect platforms or companies like ours from civil litigation. So there are mechanisms for coming after companies like ours. What it does protect is our ability to evolve the way we moderate our content, and in which we have done in many ways over the last decade.
The gentleman's time has expired.